all four seasons garage doors, 615-737-1045. We have plenty to get to today. We got Vandy baseball, University of Tennessee baseball. We have NASCAR, wrestling, because I want to talk about our weekends. And then we also have some football, and your Pacers, Blaine, are going to the NBA Finals. We're going to get to all that. We'll be joined shortly here in just a few minutes by Ben McKee of GoVols247.com to talk about, today's big game. 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for those that may not have known that the time has changed, because it was going to be at 7 p.m., but it's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time over on ESPN2. It'll be University of Tennessee versus the Wake Forest Demon Deacons in a winner-take-all, quote, Game 7. So they're calling it Game 7, Blaine, not because it's this series, but the whole regionals. I found that out today. I'm not, like I said, baseball does some weird stuff I'm just not too familiar with.
There's some weird stuff that happened over this weekend in baseball, though, right?
Yeah, there is. I mean, Vandy was made history in a bad way.
Did they?
Yes, they did. And Wake Forest, of course, walked off Tennessee 7-6 in the bottom of the ninth to force this Game 7. So let's head to Ben McKee. Ben, thanks for joining on today to talk about the baseball game. Any inkling so far, and I may have missed it in the last 20 minutes, but any inkling of who is going to be the starting pitcher for the University of Tennessee?
There's a couple of different options. I'm keeping my eye on Liam Doyle and seeing what his role looks like tonight. I am expecting to see him at some point. It's just a matter of when. He is going to be available to throw for Tennessee tonight. Liam threw 104 pitches on Friday night against Miami, Ohio. A little bit of a bumpy start with the command, but settled in nicely and pitched into the seventh inning. Double-digit strikeouts, if I remember correctly. But really nice performance, and he wants the baseball today. Now, when he gets the baseball at some point, it's not going to be for long. He typically throws a bullpen early in the week to prepare for his Friday start. Whether that's on a Monday or a Tuesday, and that's typically 25, 30 pitches. So I would guess that's the range in which he would throw in terms of amount of pitches, which probably equals to 1 inning or 2 innings if he's really efficient. So I'm kind of curious to see where Liam comes out. I would not be surprised if he's the first arm out to serve as an opener. If not, then it's Tegan Kuhns, the freshman, who's made 10 starts this season. Braden Krenzel, another freshman righty, has not pitched yet this weekend. Tanner Franklin, one of Tennessee's top velo guys out of the bullpen, who has earned a lot of opportunities this season. He has not pitched this weekend either. So if not Liam to open for an inning or two, I think it's probably one of those other three. And if I had to pick between those three, I would guess Tegan Kuhns.
When you talk about setting up this pitching rotation, I mean, Liam Doyle is obviously one of the best pitchers in the college baseball whole program or the entire conference and everything. Wouldn't it be the prudent thing? I know he just came off with 104 pitches on Friday night, but wouldn't it be the best thing to have your best pitcher go in a do or die game?
Yeah, it would. The thing for Tennessee that it has to navigate is that Liam's about to be the potential number 1, number 2 overall pick in the draft next month. And I haven't looked at what the projected signing bonuses are, but usually those top 5 picks are signing for $8 million, $10 million in that range, in immediate direct deposit. So they kind of have to navigate his future because he's about to be, again, one of the top picks in the draft. And he did throw 104 pitches on Friday. So that complicates things a little bit. But there's no doubt that he is their best option and the best pitcher. He was the SEC pitcher of the year for a reason, and probably the best pitcher in the entire country this season. I think that he was. So it's certainly their best option, and one that, because they are playing on a Monday, playing a Game 7, a fourth game this weekend, they'll have the opportunity to run him back out there. And I think the good thing for Tennessee is that Liam Doyle wants the baseball. There have been previous number 2 picks in the draft that did not want the baseball after they had already thrown once in a weekend to protect their arm. But Liam is putting the team first over himself. And I think that makes this an easier decision. Tony Vitello already talked about it last night post-game. that Liam was already in his ear about being available today. So you're right. It is the best option for Tennessee, even if it is for an inning or two. And I think you'll see him for an inning or two at some point.
Benny, if I can recall, do you remember Tracy Rocker doing the same thing? And that kind of led to his elbow injury going into the draft of the Major League Baseball?
Yeah, Tracy Rocker's son.
Tracy, I'm sorry. I said, yeah, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
No, we knew who you're talking about, my friend.
Yeah, my bad.
I don't remember the exact details, but Kumar Rocker did there was a lot of wear and tear, and he did throw a lot, obviously, while he was at Vanderbilt, and part of that was just because he was so dang good and was able to pitch dang near the entire game every time out. So I don't remember the exact details, so I don't want to misspeak, but there was a lot of wear and tear on that arm going into professional baseball, and that's one of the reasons he and I believe the Mets were unable to come to an agreement on a deal because they had some medical concerns, and he took a detour to get back to the draft, and now is in professional baseball, obviously. So it's something that all these arms have to deal with. These top arms have to deal with because it's not natural this is not a natural human movement to throw a baseball with this much velocity as much as some guys are being asked to. So it's a delicate situation, and one that Tennessee always puts the player first. There's a long track record of Tennessee making sure that they are putting the player first over the team. You can go back to Garrett Crochet, Chase Dolander, and others. So they're not going to push it if they feel like they're risking his health. So if they're going to run him out there tonight, obviously Liam is giving them the blessing for them to use him, and that they feel good about him being able to handle it.
One of the things I think should be established, I want to get your thoughts on it, is them, Tennessee getting off to a fast start, because when Wake Forest gets off to a fast start and they get the lead, typically they win. I think their record is like 25-6 or something like that. So they get a lot of momentum and a psychological edge. Do you think this is something that's important for Tennessee in this game?
Absolutely. Because Tennessee, just generally speaking, when reflecting on the season, Tennessee has not been the best at returning punches or punching back, taking punches and delivering a punch of their own. They have been much better the last couple of weeks. You really saw that in the SEC tournament against Alabama, against Texas for sure, after they went down 4-0, and that was with Liam Doyle on the mound, and they were able to overcome that and win that baseball game, and they're hosting this weekend because they won that baseball game. So I do think that the team has turned a corner in that regard. We'll see if they turned it enough, but you go back to the regular season when they lost 6 out of 7 series to end the regular season, whether it be the LSU series, Kentucky, they were swept in a doubleheader by Texas A&M, Auburn losing Game 3, so and others, Vanderbilt losing Game 3 to your rival on your home field, and then Vanderbilt kind of bullying them at the SEC tournament after you had something to say to them on your own field, and in Arkansas dropping a Game 3 there after you win Game 1. So this team, it's critical that they get off to a strong start, because overall this season, when they have fallen behind, they have not necessarily responded to it all that well, even though they have been better at that the last couple of weeks. But certainly I think it's key to get the crowd behind you. And I mean, you know how it is as an athlete and a fan being in stadiums. Whoever was over at Vanderbilt over the weekend, I'm sure felt the same thing. Like the pressure begins to mount on the home team.
Well, they are the home team this game too, by the way, aren't they?
Yes, they will be the home team this game. It's all about who has been the road team more on the weekend, which is just a ridiculous rule. I don't get
Jackson
it.
installed that rules to put that in place. Unfortunately, it backfired on him. Jackson.
Yes, he implemented that while he was at UT. I was with him when he was advocating for it. So absolutely critical. Tennessee gets off to a fast start today, because that pressure begins to mount on the higher seeded team, the team with more expectations. If you fall into an early hole, and the fans start to feel that as well.
Ben, real quick, back to Liam Doyle. Do you think the Vols could use him in a closer, kind of close the game out situation here with him only be able to go 1 to 2 innings?
I think they could. I think that is absolutely an option. I think they could really use him any way they want. I think that they could open him. I think that they could save him for what they feel like is possibly going to be the most important situation in the game. Obviously, that it's hard to forecast all 9 innings, but if it's the 5th inning and Wake Forest is ahead a run or down a run, it's a tie game or whatever, and they have the bases loaded with no outs, 1 out, and they feel like, okay, this moment is going to determine the outcome of the game, maybe they try and save him for whenever that big moment pops up. But they could also certainly use him to close. If I had to guess, I would predict that he opens the game more than he closes. But that's certainly an option, and I am curious to see which role that they do choose to use him in.
Ben, just real quick, we know that Wake Forest has gone through a lot of their pitching rotation. Griffin Green is getting the start, who they consider fresh. But whose bat, because we talked a lot about pitching, but whose bat on the University of Tennessee needs to get hot the fastest in tonight's game?
Well, I kind of view that question 2 different ways. I think the offensive player that needs to have the biggest impact is Andrew Fisher. I think he's the battery pack to this Tennessee offense. And more broadly speaking, the top 3 guys, Gavin Keelan, Andrew Fisher, Hunter Ensley, I think those 3 guys have to set the tone. But if I had to pick one player, it would be Andrew Fisher. And he pretty much has done that all season long. He has answered the bell and then some all season long. He's reached base safely in every single game this season, which I believe now is at 62 games. And he's played himself into a first-round pick. He was thought as, when he transferred from Ole Miss to Tennessee last offseason, he was thought as just a home run hitter, just a slugger. But he's really developed into an all-around excellent hitter. He does not chase pitches. He takes his walks. He battles. He's just a pest in the box. He's been the college version of Juan Soto this season, just in terms of like the Soto shuffle. Fisher's had a bit of a shuffle this season as well when he takes a pitch or spits on a pitch that he doesn't want to swing at. So he's probably the most underrated hitter in the entire country, because I don't think enough people are talking about his overall season. It hasn't been just home runs. He's been a complete hitter. He's a doubles machine. He hits for power over the wall as well, and comes through in the clutch. He takes his walks, as I mentioned. He signed with Tennessee with the thought he was going to play third base this season. He makes the move to first base early in the year because it was what was best for the team, and he's turned into an outstanding defensive first baseman as well. So, and we know he plays with a lot of confidence and swagger and energy. So he's the one that I feel like needs to spark this team. But if the other way I view that question is like, who needs to get going is Dalton Bargo. Dalton Bargo's been it's been a rough stretch for him the last couple of weeks. He's chasing a lot of pitches at the plate right now, and you can see the frustration on his face when he does chase pitches. I just off the top of my head, there's been several times in the last couple of weeks where he struck out on pitches that were out of the zone. So you look at somebody that needs to get going. That's Dalton Bargo in that cleanup spot. He hits in too important of a spot to not give Tennessee anything.
Awesome. Ben, thank you so much for breaking down the baseball game. Enjoy the game tonight if you can. If you don't get too stressed out.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Y'all have a great week.
No problem. That's Ben McKee of GoVols247.com. When we come back, we'll talk more about Vandy baseball and the University of Tennessee. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we are now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hunted Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. So pretty cool getting to watch a small town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations, repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. Always tell them Blaine, did you?
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all 4 Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Vanderbilt baseball becomes the first number 1 overall seed to not reach at least the regional final. Like I said, Vanderbilt making history in the worst kind of way. Of course, Tim Corbin had that presser that has since gone viral where he is blowing up on reporters. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised more coaches don't blow up in those moments. You're only human sometimes. And it was very surreal, but it was one of the hottest baseball teams heading into the tournament. And man, they went cold just like that. Blaine, we were talking about it, how it's just baseball's just a weirdest sport.
Man. It's momentum swings. And the wind starts blowing, or one guy gets a hit, and all of a sudden a whole bunch of guys start getting hit. Not then, and nobody's getting hits. And then how do you rally? And man, it's really weird. You can go cold in the drop of a hat. I wish I had a mechanism to just see why that happened. Because it's not just Vanderbilt, it's all over the little leagues, even all the way up to the pro level. So it's kind of interesting, man, that happened to them. I think that's why he was so disappointed, because the reporter asked him actually a coaching strategy, and I think that's what lit him up, because she asked him, I think, about bunting. Like, should you guys have bunted? So then that's a coaching strategy. I think typically, Corbs is pretty mild-mannered at most of the time, and kind of say, take the blame himself, that I didn't do a good job of coaching, which I think he did later on, and getting them prepared to be better hitters. But at the end of the day, they I think they only had 3 hits in the entire game or something low. I know I could be wrong, just like I was before, but it was a low number. It was just like, dang, man. Wow, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
Of the 13 SEC teams in the tournament, only Arkansas and Auburn have advanced to the Super Regionals, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, UTSA beat Texas. They upset Texas this weekend, who was one of the best. Who was number 1.
Texas was number 2 seed. What overall?
Yeah, with number 2 seed overall. Texas was the number 1 seed, in the SEC tournament.
Right.
But then Vanderbilt became the number 1 seed overall in this tournament. But Texas lost to UTSA. Baseball is such a weird sport, and Tennessee, we'll see what Tennessee does today, but there's other team. How many teams, SEC teams, Jackson, was it 4 SEC teams today that are playing for their super regional spots, I believe? A lot of teams made it, obviously. So when you have a lot of teams from one conference made it, not all of them are probably going to win, but a large chunk of the SEC teams have been eliminated from the tournament.
But the matchup with the ACC teams, I think SEC is in a losing part of that.
The AAC is 4-0 against the SEC so far.
Man, AAC, yeah. Man, dang, that's a little surprising.
LSU, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, and Tennessee face must-win games today. So, just a weird weekend, because the SEC looked like it was going to be kind of like the basketball tournament, where you're going to see a couple of them. And listen, it could still happen. A couple of them advance really far into the tournament. But Vanderbilt blowing up and losing their game to Wright State, it was just insane. I just couldn't believe it. I was just shocked. Of course, I was shocked to see Tennessee in a must-win Game 7 today as well. I thought that they were going to kind of walk through this first part of the tournament, and maybe that's just a bad assumption on my end, but man, these SEC teams really getting showed up by some of these other teams that you wouldn't have expected, like the UTSA, Wright State, and so far Wake Forest.
I'm stunned, Jackson. Are you a little surprised?
There's a little bit of surprise there, but also Wake Forest is a powerhouse college baseball program.
Wright State,
all the teams that lost, it was kind of in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wake Forest has been to Omaha in the past couple of years, and Chase Burns, the Tennessee pitcher, transferred to Wake Forest, and so it's not that surprising that this series or this regional went to a 2-game. Wake Forest got a game, and hopefully Tennessee can get the last game tonight. But these are two really solid programs going head-to-head, so of course that variance is there. What the Vanderbilt result was truly shocking.
Yeah.
Is this true? They only have one player that has over 300 batting average?
In the modern college baseball, yeah. That's what Dixie's saying. Maybe Jackson could fact check it, but that's he does make a point. I was a little stunned that Vandy was the number one national team.
Right.
Yes, and because he says yes, they were hot for 2 to 3 weeks, but like Texas clearly was. I mean, well, not clearly now, I guess you could say, because they got eliminated too. It didn't matter.
They were all season.
But,
I mean,
they were good all season, so I was kind of surprised that they didn't get the number one seed overall. But that's how it rolls. And when you get these, spots in these tournaments, you got to be able to show that you belong. And I don't want to say that Vanderbilt didn't show that they didn't belong, but like they got there. But I mean, man, what a way to make history in the wrong way. And it just also goes to show that curse of that number one seed is pretty strong, and what Tennessee did last year was pretty special.
Oh, man. So there's a curse? I mean, how many times has this happened? You said it never,
the number one seed rarely ever wins the World Series.
Oh, that curse.
Tennessee was the first since 99.
Yeah, Tennessee was the first since 99. So, I mean, a lot of the number one seeds aren't winning their games when they need to. Yeah. And, of course, it was going to be hard for any team to go back-to-back. Tennessee can still make history that way, go back-to-back champions, but they got to get past Wake Forest, and I think they should. Because Wake Forest's pitching rotation has been kind of going through it. I mean, they've had 10 different pitchers through these games that they have played through the weekend, whereas Tennessee has only gone through, I believe, 9, if I'm not mistaken.
One less?
No, wait a minute. 3, 9. Is that right? It looks way different. Maybe I'm
Jackson's been quiet. He doesn't know.
I was looking up this Vanderbilt stat. That was right. They only had one player. Riley Nelson was their only player with a 300 batting average.
Yeah. 8 pitchers for Tennessee, and 10
for Wake Forest.
10 for Wake Forest, but their 10 has had thrown more pitches, way more pitches than those 8. I mean, way more by considerable margin, not just because there's 2 extra players. So,
and they played 3. They're going to play 3 games in 2 days.
Yeah. They've played already 4 games. Wake Forest has, including yesterday's game. So this will be their 5th game since Friday for Wake Forest.
So you think that's a negative? Like playing those games every day?
Yeah, because you'll run out of arms.
Oh, only the arms though.
Yeah, I mean, if your bats are hot, which they had some very nice at bats yesterday, then that can carry over and it can help you a lot. But I mean, if you're running out of arms in the bullpen after throwing a bunch of guys the last 2 days, towards the end of that game, you're probably not throwing your best closer, your best setup man to be able to close out a Tennessee team.
Yeah. Were you surprised like how that's going for Tennessee? Yeah,
I am.
don't know.
A little bit.
That's going so good.
I mean, you have to be a little surprised, right? I mean, you would have thought that. I mean, I'm still surprised by Vanderbilt, but you would have thought that Tennessee, Miami of Ohio. After the Miami of Ohio game, I was like, I figured that they were going to shut them out, but it was like they looked really good against Miami of Ohio. And then, Cincinnati and Wake Forest looked like a totally a different team for the University of Tennessee. So it'll be interesting to see what team for Tennessee. It almost feels like if you ain't got Liam Doyle playing at some point during the game, you may be losing.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a tough match. Didn't they have bases loaded like in the 7th?
They did. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Wake Forest went to their bullpen. He walked a couple of guys, and then they were able to get the bases loaded. Reese Chapman swung on a pitch. I believe it was down and away. 2 strikeout there.
Yeah, they could have went. Oh man, they should. They got to get.
They've been bad about leaving runners on base.
We've talked about it.
I know. I mean, we've talked about it for now 3 or 4 weeks, and they have to figure out. That's why I was like, whose bat needs to get hot so that stuff doesn't happen.
Which was the problem for Vanderbilt this weekend. Timely hitting is what doomed Vanderbilt in their regional.
And so, I mean, Tennessee's got to figure out this hitting issue that they have. I mean, because they just leave points on the board. I wonder how many points they've left on the board these last few weeks, because it has to be, I mean, it's just insane amount. It feels like every time we talk about a game, that's one of the main issues we're bringing up for this Tennessee team. You know, how do you fix something like that right now? Because it feels like it's just part of the identity, and you kind of have to expect that, hey, you know, sometimes they'll be able to overcome this deficiency, but more often than not, they're going to be left high and dry in the win-loss column.
That's why you have to rely on your arms. So that's why I said it's going to be an interesting balance here, because the batters are going to have to wake up. I mean, there's no way around it, because you just don't know if the pitching is going to hold up and who can do what, and are they going to look just like they've looked over the past, 5 days or 3 days?
And it needs to be guys who aren't Andrew Fisher. Andrew Fisher hit a absolute moonshot yesterday to bring them back within 2 runs. They went down 4 runs, and they battled back, but weren't able to do anything after that. And then they walk the bases loaded, walk in a run. And so you just need other guys to make timely hits. When when Andrew Fisher and the other guys are getting those timely hits, they get you back in the game. You really just needed one more timely hit to win that game yesterday and send yourself to the Super Regional to play Arkansas.
I mean, how many pitches would you guys use Liam Doyle for? Because I would try to use him, not maybe 104 pitches a lot, because that's what he did in game 1, but 50 pitches, 54 pitches, is even that too much, Jackson? Because I feel like Tennessee needs some Liam Doyle just as much as they need someone besides Fisher's bat to get hot.
Was what Ben said. He said he would start him instead of waiting to use him as more of a reliever. That's the question. And where do you put him in? And
where do you pull him?
Is he more? Yeah, exactly. What do you think?
I would probably start Tegan Coons, and I would find, like Ben said, the perfect moment for Liam Doyle to get me an inning or two that I need to win the game.
But are you putting him in a situation that he has not been in an entire season? See, he's now become a reliever. That doesn't mean he won't do well, and most of those guys have done that somewhere throughout their careers, even in high school or whatever, but it's just that now all the pressure's on that pitcher.
So Liam Doyle actually has come in and closed out a game for Tennessee. The Auburn series, he threw, I believe, in half an inning, and then the game was rain delayed so much they moved it to the next day.
Well, that's a little different.
And then they brought him back on Sunday to close out game 2 after it was rained out on Saturday. So I believe Liam Doyle has a little bit of it's not a lot of experience, but it is experience in a high-pressure situation, closing out a game. That game was in extra innings. And so I think you could use him in this situation, but I would not throw him more than 35 pitches.
So you want him to come in later in the game, but not start. See, I think you almost want him to start.
But if you're only going to throw him 35 pitches,
I would go 50-something pitches. I mean, but that's just me.
Said 54.
You got to protect his arm. I mean, this is a top 5 pick in the MLB draft. Like, they're not going to throw a guy out there to potentially get hurt after throwing so many pitches this weekend on Monday, come back and throw 50, 60 pitches.
Man, that's tough. I mean,
that's what happened to Rocker. I know I said Tracy because that's his dad, but Kumar, that's exactly what happened in the World Series. And then all of a sudden they kept talking about elbow issues for the draft. And they lost, but he came in middle way and pitched.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they were like, oh, something's wrong with his elbow. He's like, nothing wrong with his elbow.
It just feels like you need him. I mean, I guess finding that perfect time is fine in theory, but what if the game gets out of hand?
Because the kid is competitive. He wants to play. You know this.
Yeah, he's wanting to play.
It's going to be a tough task to get him off the mound tonight when you put him out there.
No matter what.
That's why I think closing the game is another reason why him closing out the game might be the best decision.
So, I mean, at that point, the strategy then becomes for Tennessee, if you were to use him like Jackson is saying, either as a closer or as a reliever, then you have to really, it feels like you really have to rely on the bats, right? Like you have to, because you got to keep the game close. I mean, Tegan, he's 2-4. Man, 10 games throughout the season, 2-4 as a starter with an ERA of 5.4. Got 40 strikeouts, though, and issued 16 walks, and opponents have hit off him, 285 off of him. But, I mean, what do you think, Jackson? I mean, is he enough to be able to keep the ship, I guess, steady for Liam Doyle to come in and to let the bats get hot? What do you think, Jackson?
I think it's a dangerous proposition.
It is. It feels so dangerous.
Try to get to Liam Doyle, but I think it's one you almost have to take.
What do you think? What do you think about that? It's like the risk. It's super risky, but it may be the best path. Is that how you view it, Blaine?
Yeah, I would say I would go. We are a team, and I can't. I want to use my big arm guy, but I can't put him out there to start. I just don't want to start him in the game if we need him. Because guess what? If we win and we don't need him, I have him for the next game. See, so that's why I think they're talking about waiting towards the end. And then, okay, we think we have enough to keep it close regardless, but he has to come in and close it if we can't do it ourselves as a group, as a unit, in the pitching unit.
What's realistic expectations? Let's ask about that when we come back. When we come back, we're going to ask about what's realistic expectations if Tegan Kuhns gets the start. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. And speaking of 1045, they're bringing back our Split Happens Bowling Bash with special guests and listeners on Thursday, June 26th at King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. Join us for a fun night of bowling with food, drinks, prizes, and more, all to help benefit Home Street Home. Admission is free. RSVP now at 1045thezone.com. And we're talking about the Tennessee Volunteers. Big game today at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN2 versus Wake Forest. It's a win. It's an elimination game. And I guess a question for you two is, how many innings are you comfortable with Teagan pitching? Obviously, a lot of stuff can happen, but I mean, like, what's the minimum you are expecting from Teagan Coons to pitch if he is the opener? Because, I mean, is he a guy that's only going to get you 2 or 3 innings? And if he, let's start there. Where are you at on that, Blaine?
I think if you're a starting pitcher, you don't think he's just going to go 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah.
I think you believe he can go into the 5th or 6th, hopefully. If not, you got to be ready to get your bullpen and relievers already. So, if you're thinking that, no.
Yeah. No. Jackson?
I think they'll view him as more of an opener today.
Okay.
And I think it'll be one time through the lineup max.
One time?
Wow. So you're hoping to get at least 2 innings out of him.
In?
They'll make that decision.
Yeah, so, I mean, does Liam Doyle come in the third?
Doyle should be starting. If you talking like that, then he should start.
Yeah.
Like, if you think that's what they're going to do, you got some insight on that? Or that's just what you want to do?
It's just what I think is the most likely outcome.
I wouldn't do
Let
that.
me ask you this. If that is the case, one whole lineup, let's say the best case scenario, you get through 3 innings with them.
No, he said through
2 innings, probably 2 innings. But, you know, when you're in that situation, then are you bringing in another pitcher before Liam Doyle, or are you bringing in Liam Doyle from there?
Depends on how that first time through the lineup went, I guess.
Man, this is just going to be so interesting to see how they handle their bullpen. Let's go to John.
Man, you have no faith in your pitchers.
615-737-1045. Let's go to John, who wants to talk about Volunteers. John, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm good. I do not think they need to use Doyle unless it's a close situation late in the game. They've been starting 3 pitchers on the weekends all season long. No reason to change from that. And it's really hard to argue baseball with a guy that calls runs points. Thanks.
There you go.
What did he say at the end there?
Something about runs and points. I'm not sure. But when you're talking about this, Jackson.
Jackson.
Yeah, because I'm just so interested because your pitching strategy, do you even want, like, if let's say everything goes well for Teagan Coons to start off, and then let's go, maybe they feel like everything's going well, he goes to the 5th. Do you still bring in Liam Doyle if maybe you guys are up, 3 or 4 runs?
To the 5th.
Yeah.
It's all dependent on situation. Like,
Man,
I need like, what is the score? What is the situation that Liam Doyle would be walking into here as Tennessee up 3 to 4 runs? Then probably know that I'm probably saving him for the 8th and the 9th inning. If they're down 2 runs, maybe I do bring in Doyle. Then it all is so dependent on situation that it's hard to game plan. You can have 100 different game plans for what you want to do in each specific situation.
I completely agree, but why don't you say the same thing about your starter? It should bend on you just said, no, I'm taking him out after he goes through the first group of the whole. Then you should be saying, what if he's hot and he strikes out 5 and is dominating? You still taking him out? So you should have said the same exact thing.
No, Tony would definitely leave him in.
So he's got 10. Teagan has 10 starts under his belt. He's pitched 36.2 innings. So that's 3.62 innings on average.
Got to get him in 3.
So you're hoping to at least get him to 4 probably in this scenario.
I hope, yeah.
Because you're probably wanting those 4 different innings to then bring in maybe Liam Doyle, then bring in a closer. That sounds like the most ideal situation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That I would say there.
Well, the
we all
most
figured it
ideal
out.
situation.
Would be you never even have to play Liam Doyle because you're
Exactly. You're up 10 runs in the first, and you let
I
Liam
guess
Doyle
I say
put on a
most
sweatshirt.
realistic ideal situation. But I mean, you hope that the bats get hot and you guys don't leave runs on base. Because I mean, doing that in my mind has been the biggest bugaboo for this University of Tennessee team. If you can,
Up and down.
if you guys can jump out to a huge, massive lead,
Wake Forest is 25-6 or
I
some
know.
crazy number if they start off fast with a lead. I'm
I
telling you.
mean, man, it is. This is a big game. If you guys are to lose this game and you do not get out of
Don't
this
put that
tournament,
in the stratosphere.
well, I have to ask, Jackson. I mean, how are you feeling about this
He
baseball
just wants
team
you to
this year? Are
squirm.
you disappointed, or have you come to this conclusion as the season goes on? Is that hey, we're not as good as what our expectations were going into the season, and I had to adjust the expectations accordingly.
I think it would be both. I think I would be very disappointed that Tennessee didn't make it out of their own regional.
Yeah.
But also, like, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be dumbfounded
Yeah.
if this happens. But I would be disappointed.
Because Slay says this team sucks, so those are his words. So I mean, I just wonder.
That was a while back, right?
Yeah, it's just a couple weeks ago. It wasn't out. It wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
But like, I look at it and I think Tennessee baseball probably had I would assume high expectations from most fans. But I wonder at what point do you as a fan actually adjust your expectations properly? Now, listen, you still want to get out at least your own regionals and make it there. I mean, this is still very disappointing, but I do wonder if expectations were adjusted for this fan base to, like Jackson said, it's disappointing, but I wouldn't be surprised. And what does that say about Tennessee baseball?
No, I don't think you're trying to put it on quantify it all, but this is just one season. They have been up and down the whole entire season. So
Right.
your expectations are shaky already.
Gotcha.
They have proven to you all season they couldn't get critical hits at certain times. They're up and down. So this team hasn't maybe more talented, but this team has been inconsistent until really towards the end of the season, right? Right before with the SEC tournament. Well, right before that, I would say going into the last two when they. Well, no, then they play Vandy.
Yeah,
But
they were consistently inconsistent.
consistent. Let's say that, Dave. Yeah, so it was like, dang. Every time they suck you in, it was like, yeah, we're back to there.
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect. So I don't know if it'll be. I think it'd just be disappointing you don't get out of your region. I think at home that's
Yeah.
why.
And that's why I was wondering is like, did fans adjust their expectations as the season goes on? Because I mean, like you said, they've been this kind of up and down team all year. I mean, obviously the SEC series and how they ended all that before the SEC tournament was kind of letting you know that, hey, this isn't the same Tennessee baseball team we got last year. But I do think that you still have those championship expectations because you're a championship team. But did the fan base adjust those to maybe something more properly? Sounds like Jackson did.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Just because they won it last year, this is a whole new year. So everybody's expectations changed in what they thought they were looking at. In a normal season, this is probably a really good season for Tennessee if they had never won the national championship.
That's true.
See, so we have changed as fans watching them. All right, so we know we're great. We're going to be good. We're going to be fighting to get that World Series. So then you look at it that way, it's just discouraging. Like the Vandy fans are pissed off at Corbin. Like, okay, well, maybe he's slow to make some adjustments, but he's still Corbin.
Yeah.
Like, let's
He
hold
still
Georgia.
probably overachieved with that Vandy team, to be honest with you.
See, so at the same time, it's just going to be disappointing. I think, fan bases just get a little, a little upset that their team isn't doing what they thought they were going to do. I mean, did you expect, Jackson, that they were going to win another World National Championship? Really?
Going into the season.
At the beginning of the season, on paper, this is one of the most talented teams in college baseball. They haven't put it together, but this is one of the most talented. Yes, I expected them to compete for one.
Compete for one. Right.
Yeah.
Because then you're in the hunt.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like now that's going to be a little bit taller task, but you've adjusted appropriately. Is
If
that
I
correct?
had to place expectations right this second, I'd say they win tonight and lose in 3 games in the Supers to Arkansas.
When was the last time someone won it back-to-back?
Oh, that's a long time.
See?
Long time.
So there's your expectations right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Don't let your fandom get in the way.
Yeah, but this is the fans. That's why I'm trying to get the fan perspective on it. Go ahead, Jackson.
The last back-to-back was South Carolina in 2010 and 2011.
So, I mean, still in the
15
2010s, but that's still a long time ago.
Yeah, not
Doesn't
bad. Not
sound
bad.
that long, but it is that long.
I don't know where I was.
All right. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of basketball, then get into some Tennessee Titans talk. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Guys, if something's holding you back from performing at your best, it's time to do something about it with performing enhancement treatment packages from Edge Peptide. Whether you're in the gym or on the course, with Edge Peptide hormone therapy, you can show up stronger, feel better, recover faster, and stay in the game longer. Also can boost your energy, build some lean muscle mass and heal from those nagging injuries, of course. And as an athlete myself, I know how those injuries can affect your game. So if you're struggling with joint pain, suffering from a recent injury, or looking to recover faster after surgery, Edge has you covered. From peptide packages to PRP, stem cells, and high-film muscle stimulation, Edge is your exclusive Nashville area peptide specialist. So don't wait till summer to feel your best, and don't trust your health to some online pharmacy. And remember, at Edge, your consultation fee is $250 is waived with your initial order. And all you have to do is just go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com, or give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
It is 2:03. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams in NFL news. Lions Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow has informed the team he plans to retire. Ragnow, a first-round pick of the Lions in 2018, and was elected second-team All-Pro in each of the last 3 seasons. In Titans news, according to Ian Rappaport, the team is signing Ty Davis-Price to a 2-year contract. Davis-Price, a third-round pick in 2022 of the San Francisco 49ers out of LSU, spent last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tennessee baseball will play in a winner-take-all game in the final game of the Knoxville Regional against Wake Forest tonight. First pitch at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, scheduled for 5 p.m. Central. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Dad's Week on 104.5 The Zone is coming. If you're looking for a gift for Dad this Father's Day, then tune in June 9th through the 13th as we give you chances to win Dad tickets to events, concerts, and more. This year, give Dad the best. List for a chance to win prizes from our friends such as the Atlanta Braves, Nashville SC, Nashville Sounds, Live Nation, and more. For more info, visit 1045thezone.com. Your Pacers, Blaine, in the NBA Finals, facing off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of people picking Oklahoma City to win, of course. I'm interested to know if you will, but first.
Well, I've been saying the whole time that OKC's going to win it all. So
but hey, Pacers, have they changed your mind at all?
No. I think Halliburton has to play superstarish, and I don't know if he could do what he did when he got that triple-double when it was 32, 14, and 12 or whatever it was. He'll have to play like that every game for them to have a shot. I think they could maybe – I think OKC's going to win it in 6, maybe even 5.
Yeah. Well, Pacers dominated the transition battle against the New York Knicks. The Pacers outscored the Knicks by 74 points in transition throughout the Eastern Conference Finals, including by 31 points in Game 6. Incredible stat, but I'm going to take it one more step further. 8.5. The Pacers have outscored their playoff opponents by 8.5 points per game in transition, according to Synergy Tracking. That's the best differential in these playoffs and includes a tally of 46-18, like we just said. In transition, their Game 6 victory over the Knicks on Saturday. The second best differential belongs to the Thunder, who've outscored their opponents by 8.1 points per game. So 8.5 versus 8.1 in transition per game. So is this a thing where the Oklahoma City Thunder's defense needs to make them play half-court basketball? Make the Pacers play half-court basketball?
Well, Oklahoma City's defense is the best in the NBA. So that's where I think it's good. Both of them are really good defensive teams, by the way. I just think OKC is a little bit better, and especially I think offensively they're going to put up points. But both of them are going to play really good defense. I think that's going to be the difference. Halliburton. Will Halliburton and SGA go against each other? They're both the point guards. Or will Nesmith guard SGA? And then does that then create a matchup for Halliburton when, maybe he has to play in the post or whoever else he's guarding? I don't know. But it's always interesting. Back in the day, guys used to guard the best players because they play the same position. Now they don't want those kind of matchups because they'll get too exhausted on defense and offense. It'll just take away from the game. I want to see them go head-to-head. I really do. So I like, you got to take on that challenge if you want to be, a superstar. So I'm interested in that, as well as if OKC can slow them down on the running and gunning, because they're a young group. They can get up and down the floor, too, so they may believe that they can do that with them. I think that's a dangerous proposition. I said that about the Knicks in the beginning. You don't want to get up and down. Don't want to score like in the high 60s at halftime. That means it's going the pace of the Pacers. You don't want to do that. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, it's elite defense versus explosive offense, right? I mean, like it's kind of the immovable object versus the unstoppable force. And, with the Pacers, it's all about Halliburton, whether, he can do though create those scoring opportunities that very few in the NBA as a point guard look for now. He's almost a pass first guard who could spot teammates for easy baskets and keep the defense guessing. And if he is able to create those scoring opportunities elsewhere, that could also help. But the defense for the Thunder, they have a first-team defender, first-team all-defensive team.
And second-team.
And a second-team guy, too.
Right.
And then you also got, Chet Holmgren and Alex Caruso were also OKC's better ball stoppers throughout some of these games, too. So they got a otherworldly defense. They're just relentless. And the Pacers are an efficient offense. So it's going to be a real interesting matchup, as well as what can the Pacers under the basket match, the rebounding that you get from, Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, because they're both able to get double-digit boards. And so can the Pacers do that underneath while also being able to, on the flip side, creating those scoring opportunities? That's what I'm very interested in seeing.
I don't know if they'll be able to do that. I think that's why I feel like in 6. I just don't think they have enough down in the post to really give OKC a go. But, boy, it'll be really interesting. You don't know until you actually get out there in the matchups and see how they do, and then the counter moves here. Rick Carlisle's a really good coach. So especially when it comes to X and O's,
because Miles Turner is not that force at the post that you kind of need against Oklahoma City Thunder.
He's more of a
and so that falls onto the Eastern Conference Finals MVP Siakam, who leads the Pacers in rebounds during the postseason, but's at a very average 5.8 per game. So, I mean, even he's not a presence underneath right there. So I'm looking at it, and I'm going, they're going to have to get Siakam involved, obviously, offensively, because that seems to be when Halliburton is, stopped, they need to go to Siakam, but he's going to have to they're going to have to find a way with some kind of collective effort from this to do something under the basket to try to slow down the rebounding efforts of Oklahoma City Thunder, because you're not going to stop it. You just have to slow it down.
Yeah, I think they should continue with the ball movement on offense, offensively, the Pacers. And then when they do get in the half court and things are stagnant, they then should go to Siakam, who could play in the post with his back to the basket as well as face up. And I think that's why I kept saying, they should get the ball more to Siakam. And they did just enough. But Halliburton, in the end, he got 11 straight in the fourth quarter. I was really surprised that he didn't get MVP because I think he's the engine to the whole freaking show of the Pacers, whether it's mid-range, assist, setting everybody up, or scoring himself. So, it's going to be interesting. I think they have enough, but I don't believe the depth of the Pacers. I don't think it's still enough to beat OKC, because I think that's how they get the Knicks.
Yeah.
They went 12 deep. I mean, one game I'm like, man, I don't even remember this guy on the team. And then,
Right.
and he played the last game. I mean, and then all of a sudden this guy's in here and he puts up 8 straight points. You go, dang, that was popping. I mean, like, dang, he puts up 21. You go, man, Walker. I don't
think you can go bench to bench for bench player with the Thunder. I think the Thunder is just tremendously deep. It's almost like they snatch souls from the other team when Caruso or Aaron Wiggins or even Carson Wallace come in and immediately produce, right?
I'm excited, though. I'm excited for the young matchup and to see how this plays
Neither
out.
team's afraid to go 8 or 9 deep.
Nah.
And that's what to me, when the bench produces for the Thunder, that just makes the starters better because they get a little bit more rest. There's not enough pressure on them. Sometimes the Pacers are having to rely on their bench because maybe some of their starters are a little cold. You get what I'm saying? Like it's a little tough. I do. To me, Siakam is probably the wild card. Like for this whole series, if he's producing and involved, whether defensively or more importantly offensively, if he's just as involved as Halliburton can be, that opens things up for each other. They really open stuff up for each other with their production.
Yeah, Chet is going to be guarding him, Hunger. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think his length is going to cause some issues. So I don't know. Who do you have? I have, as much as I want the Pacers to win it, they haven't been there since 2000. I was there at a game there. I think they played the Lakers. So, but yeah, Man, I just think they don't have enough. I think
I think
gonna get them in
Pacers get one game out of this, and I think it's going to be Oklahoma City Thunder in 5.
Yeah,
What about you, Jackson?
maybe.
Thunder in 5.
It's kind of disheartening to say because I've
That's why I
really
don't wanna
enjoyed the
say it.
Pacers.
I know I do too. It's
I would
pain to
love
me.
for the Pacers to surprise us because I think that would be great. So the first game 1, Pacers at Thunder is Thursday, June 5th, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. So it'll be just really interesting to see how that first game goes because I could tell you a lot about an NBA Finals series about how that first game goes, especially if the Pacers are able to steal one from the Thunder at home. That would be huge for this whole series.
That would be a shocker. How much? How much is OKC favored? Do you know? In the first,
I'll have to check because I'm not entirely sure. When we come back, we'll transition to some Tennessee Titans football. Has the 2025 Tennessee Titans offensive roster improved over the 2024? We'll talk about that. We'll go position by position. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Powered by all Four Seasons Garage Stores, 615-737-1045. OTAs are continuing this week for the Tennessee Titans. And I thought it'd be a little nice little exercise to kind of talk about the offensive roster and how it compares to this time last year to 2024. Because this time last year, I know that everybody was excited about the idea of DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd. Everybody was beyond excited to see Will Levis throw to them. You had Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. People thought that Chig was going to take the next step. Now, a lot of this stuff didn't come through, obviously, for various reasons. DeAndre Hopkins ended up not even finishing with the team. Calvin Ridley did finish with 1,000 yards. Tyler Boyd was almost a non-factor for this offense. I mean, he had he had a couple of drops. He wasn't as involved with the offense as what you thought. And now this year, the Tennessee Titans are coming in with like Van Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett as their penciled in starters. Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, I think you can write those in pen, but we'll see what happens opposite of Calvin Ridley on the outside. But I just wonder, has this team improved enough outside of the quarterback position? Because really, we can only speculate what Cam Ward is, but they have been able to add veterans in multiple different spots of this wide receiver and offensive line unit. They decided not to add a veteran to the tight end room, and the running back room has largely stayed the same. So, Blaine, I know we're projecting, but when we're entering in OTAs this year compared to last year, do you feel like the offensive unit and the roster has gotten better outside of the quarterback position?
Well, I guess quantify your question is, are they better as a whole unit?
Yeah, I would say if you want to do it, we could take it two different ways, as a whole unit, or do we think that maybe the offensive line got better, but the wide receivers, technically, we may be feeling a little bit more down on them compared to what we were feeling this time last year?
Well, it's hard for me to say. I'm never a paper guy. On paper, they look better. No, that because chemistry matters to me. That's what makes teams successful. So I don't know what their chemistry would be like if they are all on the same page this year or if they're not. I mean, you could have more talented players on a team, but they don't gel well together. Mm-hmm. So that it really. So for me, I'm just not real big on looking at that from my perspective, being that I was out there. I've seen where we had all the pieces in place and we were going to dominate, and we did not dominate. So we did not. So you could say, and then we didn't. We had some average NFL players, and we seemed to play really well. So that stuff there, it matters, but it doesn't. Yeah, so I would go group by group if I was doing it, say, okay, is this unit better than the other group? We can all start with the quarterback. So is Will Levis play last season going to be better or worse than what Cam Ward does this season? In his first season, which is fair to say it could be equal.
Yeah.
See, I feel like...
let's say this. Equal, but maybe not as damaging.
Disastrous,
Yeah.
right. But I mean, he's going to throw some picks. I mean, this he's got to get some experience. So, but does he look like, oh, man, he's going to be good? When you watch, even through mistakes, that he if he's going to make some boneheaded ones or not. And I saw some of those at the U. I saw him. I'm sorry. He was fumbling. He was standing in the pocket. He was doing some tomfoolery stuff just like Will Levis, to be honest. But Will Levis was just in the league.
Yeah.
So it's there. But can he recover and respond and learn from his mistakes?
Well, you saw I'm sure you have because it's been floating around, but the sidearm, side angle or sidearm throw from Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. And everybody's now saying, well, this is what we meant when he was Patrick Mahomes and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, this is still T-shirts and, and just helmets. I mean, we haven't seen the pads come on and all this kind of stuff. I'm not trying to tell people they can't be excited, but I do caution throwing out the Patrick Mahomes comparison and the Steve McNair comparisons and all these comparisons because we still have yet to see a game. I do think that Cam Ward is going to be, at least, I would bet, not as disastrous as what Will Levis was last year. And if he's not he may, like, to your point, and I agree with your point, he may still throw he's definitely going to throw interceptions, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. But when does he throw those interceptions? Are they bad timing? Are they going to lead to points? Those are other questions that also have to be answered and factored in. But I do think that there is going to be better quarterback play than what we saw last year.
Right. If I was making a guess, you would hope, being the number one pick, that he would be. And the only difference would be, to me, is that if I was guessing, is that he is an actual true quarterback in his mindset. Mm-hmm. He's still going to make some mistakes. But is it going to be because he got tricked into that mistake?
Right.
Not because he made a physical mistake. I'm going to throw it here because this is where I want to throw it, and knowing the coverage is against that. So that's, and then try to force things and really not get in his own head. That was really the bottom line for Levis, outside of his shoulder being injured. So don't get in your own head. I think the way he carries himself, I don't think he's that kind of guy. I think he can respond in a big way, and with his leadership ability. So, this guy talks the talk and walks the walk. There's not too many veterans rookie players that I know get at the facility at 5 a.m. and even quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I can tell you this
that's
right
early,
now,
man.
McNair was not getting there at that time.
I know that other quarterbacks since Steve McNair were not getting there at that time.
Yeah, I think he was getting there 10 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah. Listen, it worked for him somehow, but think of what if he would have came in an hour earlier,
Right. Well, he might have been staying an hour later.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's different, you got to know who you are,
yeah,
when you can function and where you want to be at your best. So he might have been staying there late. I never saw him, though.
Yeah. What do you think about this offensive line compared to what we had going into last year? Going into last year at this time, from left to right was J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Daniel Brunskill, Dylan Radins. At this time, and of course, NPF, John Ojukwu, and then Dylan Radins ended up at right guard. Like a lot of shifting since June on that offensive line heading into last year.
Offensive line better be better.
Yeah, I mean,
it better. If it's not, then
it's almost unfathomable if it's not better.
Right? It's like there's no way with the signing and then the movement of Latham, just on that alone, and it's like, man, it got to be better.
I mean, because
it's not. Well, another.
If it's not, they have to hire an exorcist. Like, they have to go through there, burn some sage. I mean, because if Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, J.C. Latham are all healthy, Blaine.
Oh, man.
They stay healthy or relatively healthy, and they're not better than what they have seen over the last 3 years. I think you just give up. Like, maybe you just don't play with an offensive line or something. I don't know. But, that would be terrible. That would be the worst thing.
It's hard for me to ever feel defeated in anything, but I think this is one time I may throw in the flag.
Just forfeit these games.
There was a couple times I kind of dozed off at the game, like, hey, man, this is not good. I'm dozing off during the game. So this is, it's like watching paint dry. It better not be that way, or man, somebody's going to get fired.
You need to accelerate the new stadium being built and get out of this stadium, because there's something there.
Man.
Get new water filters or something. Maybe change up the diet. I don't know, because if this group is not even just worse, if it's just as bad, it has to be markedly better. And I'm not saying we have to see it markedly better week one, even though I would love to, because you're facing against Denver. But you have to be better. If you are not better this year on the offensive line, get everybody out of there. I don't know what you do. I just don't know what you do.
And then they would just tease us for a half. You'd be like, oh man, we're up. We're gonna win this game.
Yeah, and they finally got it together. And then they fall
two
off.
halves.
Yeah,
it's two halves. It's not how you start, how you finish.
But I bet this is a better offensive line here. So it has to be. I mean, because we've seen Dan Moore play. We've now seen both. We've seen all these guys play. We've, unlike Cam Ward, we're kind of projecting. We've seen all these guys play. Yeah. And they're all, even putting in J.C. Latham over on the right side should be a massive upgrade over the the constant rotation of disasters they put in over at the right tackle last year. I mean, it didn't matter who they were putting in. They were either getting
rotating
penalties.
in series. I have never seen that before in my life in the NFL ever.
Yeah. I mean,
what are we doing?
yeah. Insane amount of rotation, and like every week, it was a comedy act of who's getting the start at right tackle this week. Is it going to be Leroy Watson? Well, Leroy Watson got a penalty, so now we can't use him. We're going to go back to NPF. Oh well, NPF got a penalty and allowed 3 sacks. We can't use him. Let's go to John Ajuku. Oh well, John Ajuku
the high calves there.
Yeah, I mean it was just a disaster. So on paper, I mean this has to be a better offense. If it's not, I just like I said. Burn some sage.
So that's why I say Cam Ward's coming into a better situation than Levis did.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. That's what I'm saying. So do you think if he would have been dealt these cards, he might have played somewhat better?
Yeah, probably so. I would say this. We probably would have rode with Will Levis all season long, outside of the injury. Because I think that you would have at least seen enough to like say, okay, well, we've seen some things here and there. And the offensive line should, if he was playing behind this offensive line last year, I think we're talking about a team that probably wins 7 games, 6 games, maybe. I mean, it's hard to say that the offensive line cost you 3 games when also special teams sucked and Will Levis did some crazy things anyway. Like, it's hard to say that, but maybe
he pressed because things wasn't going so well, and then because of the line.
And he got rattled so easily, but that also lets you kind of know, like, okay, if he's getting rattled so easily, maybe this was good that we found this.
Well, I would have got rattled too if I would have kept getting hit. Man, I would have thrown that ball like it's a hot potato, man.
You know, Joe Burrow.
I would have hit somebody in the helmet.
And I know Will Levis is not Joe Burrow, but I just want to speak to the greatness of Joe Burrow, not comparing him to Will Levis. But I saw a stat the other day that over the last 4 seasons, the Bengals offensive line have been the worst average unit over those 5 seasons in pass block win rate. The worst. And that includes the Tennessee Titans, by the way. They are the worst. And that just goes to show you the greatness that is Joe Burrow, to be honest with you. And that has nothing to do with Will Levis,
really. You're
going
to be great regardless.
Right. So here's where I do think it gets interesting because I think the wide receiver situation is unique. Because last year at this time, we're talking, I don't know if you guys were, but on the Football and Other Efforts, we're talking like, oh, well, this is probably a top 15 wide receiver trio. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, they all give you something. They all have experience. They all are reliable pass catchers. And, Calvin Ridley, you even talked about he's like he's fast. That dude is legit. And it did not turn out that way. Kind of did for Calvin Ridley. He wasn't given consistent opportunities, and sometimes he didn't live up to the opportunities when he got them, but he still got 1,000 yards, still looked like clearly the best wide receiver. This year, you have Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, and Van Jefferson. And I think Van Jefferson on the versus DeAndre Hopkins is where it kind of really turns, but I do like Tyler Lockett over Tyler Boyd. But I love the depth behind this unit and the youth behind this unit. But again, a bunch of unproven commodities because you got to factor in what Nick Westbrook-Akine has consistently been for your team, and there is no NWI in terms of consistency on this team right now.
Who is that guy?
I think everybody's kind of painting Io Manor as that guy.
Io Manor?
But, I mean, we have to see, right? Like, we don't know. We know that Nick Westbrook-Akine, based on his history, he was good. He wasn't 9 touchdowns good, obviously, every year. But, I mean, he was good, a good, reliable guy that was always going to be in the right spot at the right time. And we don't know if these young guys are going to be that guy. That's a tough one to replace that we don't talk about enough.
Yeah, this is tough because I'm gonna just go with the starters.
Yeah.
So you got Ridley versus Ridley. So Ridley wins. You got Jefferson versus B-Hop.
Yeah, and I'm going D-Hop.
Yeah, me too. I'm going D-Hop too. And so now it's Lockett versus Boyd. And I think we both probably going to agree they go with Lockett based off what Boyd did.
Yeah. Even before at this time last year, I would probably say Tyler Lockett over Tyler Boyd. And Tyler Boyd did not live up to my expectations. I'm trying to eliminate that from the discussion in my head, but like I've loved Tyler Lockett for a long time. It's just
he just finds a way.
He just does. So if then you're looking at that best 2 out of 3, you would say that would be this year's Titans wide receivers have gotten better, but how much better in our mind was June D. Hop versus June Van Jefferson? Probably by a wide mile in our minds at the time.
But once again, familiarity of offenses.
Yep.
Boyd was familiar with the offense. Lockett's new. Does talent outweigh the knowledge and experience of being in an offense?
Yeah.
See, so sometimes it matters, and sometimes and I wish I knew why, but yeah, it's like D-Hop. D-Hop's not fast, but he knows how to route run. Well, Jefferson, people don't understand. His game is built on route running. That's what his game's at. You know, you could talk about it.
He's probably a little bit more athletic right now than D-Hop is.
Was. Right now, I don't know if he's as savvy and as good, but I didn't think D-Hop lost it. I think he lost that he wasn't the focal point of the wide receiver, and they didn't know how to utilize both of them at the same time. Well, and so, but it didn't play out that way. We went to the Chiefs. It's hard when you're a receiver to go to another team in the middle of a season and get in rhythm of flow with the offense and the quarterback.
You would have thought it would have been a little bit easier, but just to me in my head, because DeAndre Hopkins has played with so many different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, and Andy Reid is Andy Reid, and Patrick Mahomes obviously is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And you would have thought it would have been a way to do it. But you're right. Patrick Mahomes had built up all this chemistry with everybody else. He never really looked at DeAndre Hopkins that way like he did. I mean, you saw him go into Noah Gray and Justin Watson before he would go to D-Hop.
Because that familiarity wasn't even on the field. I was just like, dang, this is...
Maybe that's because they didn't want to give us a higher draft pick if he was on the field.
Well, I was going to go there and say, well, there was also some other stuff in the contractually that they was trying to avoid as well. But we'll see how he does it with the Ravens. I want to see if I'm right, because his game can last long, because his game wasn't built on speed. It's built on route running. And once you perfect that, you can play longer even when you start losing a little bit of speed, and the way he plays and his length, his arm length and everything else. So that's one thing Jefferson doesn't have, as much as I want to say he's a good, solid, maybe even better version of NWI. For sure he is. I just don't know if he's going to bring what D-Hop did, and maybe not last year, but the year before.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. This was a coin toss for me. I really want to say this unit, but man, I don't know. I just don't know.
And then you remember the way they were talking up Traylon Burks and all that kind of stuff last year, and it's just
I like him as a person, but here's what you're going to find out. When you're a first round pick, whether you have big numbers or not, everybody watching, fans, everybody, Jackson, you too. You know if that dude is the dude.
Yeah.
You know. You'd be like, dang, he just got injured, but wait till he go. We never knew. And once we went into year 2 and we still didn't know halfway through, they were like, oh, he's just a decoy running off with Vrabel and him.
Yeah.
And I was like, he not the guy.
Yeah, when he was getting that aerobics in, he was getting his steps in.
Right. They not dumb. The coach is not dumb. We got to get this dude the ball.
Yeah.
See, So once that happened, I was like, oh, man, I don't know what he is. I didn't know if he was an outside guy, inside guy. I couldn't even tell you. And now I was like, nope, he's not going to be the guy.
No.
Unfortunately, and I wanted him to do well because he's such a good dude. But, man, hey, he wasn't the guy. So you're going to know. We're going to know if Cam Ward's the guy by week 6. We're going to say whether he makes a lot of mistakes or not, we're going to still say,
there's something there.
There's something there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The tight end, running backs have largely stayed the same. I know that they have signed Tyrion Davis-Price today. I'm not too...
Who that?
Yeah, exactly. He's the guy that has played 23 total special team snaps. Offensive snaps were a lot less not that much more than that. So he's not a guy that's played a lot of snaps in the regular season. He got drafted by San Francisco, has played for Philly as well. He had like 5 carries last year, 23 special team snaps his rookie year in 2022, 0 since
Oh,
then.
he had a carry after, Shaquan jumped
Yeah,
backwards over somebody
probably.
so he could do his, cameo spot for the EA Sports and everything. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is not I know that he got a 2-year deal.
What?
Yeah.
Wasn't it 1 year?
It was a 1 year. It's a 2-year deal, but it's going to be an effective 1-year deal. And everybody's like, well, this means the end of Julius Chestnut. Not so fast, my friends. And you guys know I'm not the biggest Julius Chestnut supporter out there, but we're talking about a guy that has a total over 43 snaps or 43 attempts, 127 yards on 43 attempts, 0 receptions. He has never caught. He's been targeted twice in the passing game. Has caught 0, and he's only played 23 special team snaps his entire career. Like, I think when you start looking at it, we're talking about a guy that had 18% offensive snaps his rookie year, 10% of the offensive snaps played his 2023, and 8% of offensive snaps played last year. Julius Chestnut has definitely been more productive than he has. I know that's a 2-year deal, probably an effective 1-year deal, but I think running back is kind of a wash because it's almost the same kind of group.
Is he a power back? What's his measurables here?
Yeah, he's 6 foot 211. He did run a 4.48 40 and had a 117 broad jump, but he just never caught on.
Where did he go to school?
LSU.
Oh.
Yeah, he was actually drafted in the 3rd round by the San Francisco 49ers.
Dang.
And they cut him after 2 years, and then he was with Philadelphia last year. So he is a Super Bowl winning champion.
Stop this.
Just saying.
Oh, some guys just in the right place, right time.
Yeah. When we come back, we'll
what
talk
she
about the tight end position, then wrap all this up. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
No ring. Kings and Associates Insurance in Brentwood stands out as an independent agent, offering more than just a range of insurance options. They handpick the best companies, they build strong relationships with industry leaders, and create customized bundling plans. And life throws curveballs, and they get it. My friend and coworker switched from another independent agent and got superior coverage for their home, their contents, and cars, experienced clear communication, and had truly an ally for their 16-year-old daughter's accident when they saved them thousands of dollars compared to their old, overpriced agent. And you could save even more by switching. So don't do it just because he did or I did. Do it because it makes sense to your family, your business, and for personal needs, as well as all you have to do is just give King and Associates a call today, 615-321-8121. That's 321-8121, or you can check them out at tkinginsurance.com to keep more money in your pocket. That's tkinginsurance.com.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. We'll get deeper in the position groups as we go on, but just overview, the Tennessee Titans tight end group has decided not to re-sign Nick Vannett. So they're pretty much running it back with swapping out Gunnar Helm for Nick Vannett. This is mainly an 11 personnel team. That means only one running back, one tight end. But I'm still putting my support behind Gunnar Helm as the main tight end one. But there has been a Bleacher Report recently said that why the Tennessee Titans should trade for Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts needs a day 2 pick, according to Jordan Schultz and all this kind of stuff. And so we've talked about this with some of these free agents that are still out there, like Zadarius Smith or Matt Judon, about how you may just want to wait and see how this tight end room goes. I'm in no rush to trade for a tight end like Kyle Pitts or Jonnu Smith at this point, because I know there's a few people that want a Jonnu Smith reunion out there now that his name has been kind of thrown out there as possibly available. So, like, when you look at this tight end group, obviously a run game defense are also a young quarterback's best friends, but also a tight end is a pretty integral part of that as well. Do you think they've done enough at this tight end group? Because, I mean, it's almost feels like the same to me as last year, which makes me wonder, can maybe Cam Ward unlock, quote unquote, unlock Chig? The potential that we keep to seem to go back to year after year, but because he only shows up like 8 games a year.
What was his? Did he have 500 yards?
Yeah,
he did.
I think so, right?
Well, some of it was this in garbage time. No way.
No, he didn't quite make it. It was 479.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
man, and so almost made it.
I
will say his yards per reception have gone down every year. So 14.1 year one. And that's when everybody's like, okay, this dude's legit because he's getting 14.1 yards per reception.
Especially when he outran everybody on that one catch. Oh, my.
And then he goes down to 9.8 from 14.1 to 9.8, then 9.8 to 9.2. You hope that goes back up. But how long can we still keep clinging to hope? Because that's why I'm kind of like, abandon ship, let's go Gunnar Helm.
Yeah. Well, let's say this first of all. Kyle Pitts, we're talking about the trade possibilities and, the rumors and everything else about that. Man, he's a super talented guy. I think that's probably underachieving with the style of offense that they run. Ever since Arthur Smith, who drafted him, was the first curse there. He loves tight ends. He had 1,000 yards, and then now is kind of dwindled with some injuries. I think he tore his ACL one year, right? So his numbers have gone down, and I don't know where he's at in his career as far as what is he. He's really only a pass-catching tight end.
Right.
And so for
Which
me,
feels like you kind of
already have. So for me, I would definitely have conversations with the Falcons, but I don't think that's something I'm gonna give up value. And when I say value is they said they value draft picks, and then now we're gonna go trade like a mid-round, draft pick or third round.
Because the Falcons are wanting second to third round.
And I would not do that.
I wouldn't either.
I would not do that if I'm the Titans.
I don't think he drastically changes anything for this offense.
Now, let's get to our offense. If you go look at the history of Brian Callahan and his offense is typically where he's been a part of those, the tight end is not heavily involved as far as going to have numbers when I'm talking about 8,000-9,000 yard numbers. So how much impact will he have? Now, that means he's catching short passes, but that means he's not in totality impacting the game where it's a difference maker. Maybe he's moving the chains, keeping the chains alive, but typically you got to have a big time receiver or receivers on the outside who are the game changers. So that's why I'm not real big on getting a tight end too as well. I don't know how much is implemented or is important in this offense besides getting the chains moving forward. Young quarterback, he's gonna, it'll be great. And you have to start preparing for Chig not being here next year after this year's free agency. So I think it's his free agent year. So I think I just keep it moving what they got and try to, develop Gunnar Ham. And if see something change down the road, there's always going to be some veteran guys you can bring in late in camp.
Because I think Nick Vanette's still even out there.
But I would just keep going with the group I have. I would not at this point.
And you got other guys like Thomas Odukoya and David Martin Robinson on this team. I mean, again, I'm not putting a lot of faith in him.
I just don't know if we're going to get invited. Just imagine if they did give up, let's say, fourth round pick. He comes here. It's still going to be a prove-it deal to say, okay, what are you to get a long-term deal? Because then if you trade for somebody, now it's about, okay, we gave you some, touches, and then we thought, oh, okay, I could see where he could go, and then you still let him walk. So then you gave up pick for a guy that walked. Makes no sense to me. So I wouldn't even entertain it.
Well, and then you look at it like this. At 479 and 2 touchdowns for Chig last year on 52 receptions. On 47 receptions last year, he got 602 yards and 4 touchdowns. But is that going to be enough to make you want to give up a third-round pick or even a fourth-round pick? And to me, that's not enough of a difference maker for me to give up the draft capital. And I know that for whatever reason, Bleacher Report said that you could trade Will Levis with the deal too. And I'm like, well, why would the Falcons want Will Levis at that point? Because they got Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins. Unless Kirk Cousins got traded somewhere else in this whole scenario. But I look at it and I go, I just don't think with this particular if this had been the Vrabel Titans or even the Titans, the Mike Mularkey Titans, I could see a reason why you would maybe entertain this trade a little bit more. But for me, I just don't see the point in it other than I get it, shiny new toy in Kyle Pitts. And it's a name that people recognize, and that carries a long way in this fan base. If they recognize your name, you must be good. Just real quick before we go, because 3HL's up next. Andrew Fisher, call to action for Volunteer fans ahead of tonight's game. He says, season on the line tonight. I expect it to almost double in noise. There needs to be a showing and a will and want to from our crowd. Show up, period. Whatever it takes. If you have to tailgate harder or bring an uncle who is super loud, make LNS as loud as humanly possible. End of discussion. That's Andrew Fisher talking to all you Volunteer baseball fans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime,
and in between time, peace.